let's switch over. Let's get into Cam Newton because that's the meat and potatoes. It basically dominates every single show and every single conversation that we've had all season long. Cam Newton, here we are. It was another one of those games where, and again, we talked about this offline before we started, Evan, and you defended him on Twitter.
I said he played fine. I think that were
yes, but I do believe that is the right assessment of Cam Newton, not just this game, but almost every game and the entire season, with, some up, some down. But for the most part, the reason they're losing is not Cam Newton, but he's certainly not doing enough to help the situation. And this was another example of it today, which is you're not going to point to Cam as the reason they lost, but perhaps a different quarterback would have greater success than Cam Newton had. And you can say that about a lot of performances. He's always leaves some plays on the table. He makes some plays. What I'm not sure is if we've started grading Cam on a curve here, Evan, where when he makes plays that a professional quarterback should make, we check the box as a positive instead of a gotta make that play. And then I don't know if we're not grading him harshly enough when he doesn't do the things he's supposed to do. And again, you're always going to quibble over throws, the throw to Harry, the throw to Asiasi. Was it perfect? No. Was it catchable? Yes. So blame seems to kind of fall in multiple places. Did the line hold up long enough for him to set his feet? But at the end of the day, the quarterback is the quarterback, and Cam today, as he has pretty much all season, was kind of meh.
That's a great description. And when I said fine, that's sort of what I meant by it. Meh. Was he the reason they lost today? No, but he also didn't elevate the team to get them into the end zone a couple more times to win the football game. So that's a big part of the quarterback play, right? Is elevating what's around you. And I think the little things with Cam that come up in games like this, when you're really, we go over these things with fine-tooth combs, and we really, really nitpick a whole lot of it. And I think the main thing that you see with Cam and his struggles in the passing game are that not every throw, but a lot of his throws are the ball placement is just a little bit off, which either throws off the timing in the play or it throws off an opportunity to run with the ball after the catch. And I think the most important, kind of the biggest example of this was that Jakobi Meyers fumble where he's crossing over the middle. It's a classic Yankee concept, post crosser, right? They get it to work. They get the crosser open, and Cam throws the ball behind Jakobi Meyers. Yep. Myers has to adjust back to it.
And then turns around, loses
and then
the ball.
And then the ball gets punched out. If Cam leads Myers into that crossing route, then there's a ton of yak there for him to keep running. N'Keal Harry at the beginning of the game, he's looking for a back shoulder, and Cam throws it front shoulder up the field, right, to his upfield shoulder. And then now N'Keal's contorting his body and trying to pull off like a one-handed catch to make the play.
And that's why you criticize N'Keal there, but it's ultimately, you're like, Jesus, get up for the ball. But he first had to change direction before he could leap. And that's why he got 2 inches off the ground. I think the throw to Keene was similar. Late in the game too, where that ball's put in a place where Keene's got to go up like this a little bit, where if you put it in a different spot, he can run under it or he can go straight up and make a play. But that's another situation there that it's not ideal ball placement.
Right. And that's a big part of any offense, but especially this Patriot offense, is yards after catch. And if you're not putting the ball in good places for the runner for the ball carrier to then go and make that catch and then run with it, then that's really a detriment to your entire offense. So, you have the Jakobi Meyers play, you have the N'Keal Harry play early in the game, the Devin Asiasi play. It's a catch that you would like to see Asiasi make, but it's also a rifle back here behind, a little bit behind him from about 5 yards away. He's throwing the fastball instead of the changeup, right? And that's a big problem too, is kind of throwing with touch to the middle, to the underneath part of the field. If he just puts that ball lightly like a pillow on Asiasi and lets Asiasi run with it, there's all sorts of green, right? There's all sorts of room there. But instead, it's a tough catch for Asiasi. It goes right through his hands, and that play goes dead. And these little plays add up in the course of the game where the receiver doesn't get a chance to get into a yak opportunity, or the ball is just off the outside shoulder instead of the inside shoulder. And these little things start to add up to missed plays, missed opportunities for the offense. And I think that's the issue with Cam as the quarterback of this team. Cam makes some good plays. That play that he found James White on third down, made a guy miss in the pocket, was able to kind of create out of structure. He hit on that 3rd and 15 to Demir Bird. I thought that was one of his better throws in the last couple of weeks. Those are good throws by a quarterback, but the inconsistencies with the ball placement is really a concern.
There's also some where he short hops the receiver by 6 yards and you're like, what was that?
Sometimes I feel like those might be more throwaways than
kind of
actual, he sees the defenders right on top of the guy and he's just like, let's live to play another down. He missed Myers again for a touchdown behind the defense earlier on in the game where Myers it's a tough throw to make, but that's a throw that you want to see the quarterback make. And I think time and time again, I keep on hearing myself say that. It's a tough throw, but a good quarterback makes it, right? A good quarterback puts that ball in a place where Myers at least has a chance to get it in bounds. The ball was out the back of the end zone, almost hit the back of the wall there behind the end zone where the stands start. That's not a throw that gives Myers any sort of chance to make a play on it. The Dalton Keene one you pointed out, that's a play that you would like to see it just a little bit lower so that Keene can go up with both hands instead of just one hand and try to pick it up off the top of the defender's head. Instead, it's just a little bit too high, and it causes Keene to really go up for it. I don't know. These types of little differences, these inches, it's really what we're talking about is a difference between a really good quarterback and what we've gotten out of Cam. And if that's the type of player that he is now, or maybe that's the type of player he's always been, it's just an inefficient way to pass the football, because clearly there are plays, and I could pick out 4 or 5 plays from this game and say, hey, Cam played pretty well. These are some pretty good throws that Cam is making. But then at the same time, there's so many yards that get left on the field because of the little intricacies of ball placement, timing, anticipation, just those types of football things. And it's not working in this offense for Cam. So I think moving forward, there's a bigger picture conversation to be talked about of whether or not this style of offense is going to work for anybody not named Tom Brady, right? Something that involves
that's the best point,
this much thinking, this much, yeah.
That's what I think is, again, you had not just generational, you had a one in a kind type of player who could do this, and maybe only he could do this. I mean, we're not talking there's only a few out there in the league. There's almost no one that can do what Tom Brady did for this team and for this offense for 20 years. It's ludicrous. I totally agree to think that you can just plug somebody else in and run this offense when there's so much pre-snap that has to happen. There's so many quick instant reactions you have to make. You have to get through your reads so quickly. There's all of these option routes. You have to be on the same page, this telepathic connection with your receivers. In order for it to work, there has to be absolute trust there. It is asking a ton of anybody to do this. It's just, in the same way, it's asking a ton of an extremely talented group of receivers in Tampa Bay to do to do what Tom Brady wants them to do. It is not an easy thing to do. So here, I think there's no chance that they can run this type of offense. You have to, and that's what's so strange is the one thing that's perplexed me about this season more than anything else is Belichick has always been better than everybody at playing to the strengths of his team and molding whatever schemes that they're going to run around their personnel, not one of those teams that's we run 4-3 and that's what we do. We do this and that's what we do. We're always an 11. They like to mix it up. And in this, they would do it a little and then they would always default back to their old kind of offense.
Right. And I think the biggest thing is that the quarterback position inherently is the hardest position to play on the team, right?
In the world.
Right. But
it's the hardest position in sports.
Right. In this offense, we talk a lot about how hard it is to play in this offense as a wide receiver or as a tight end because of all the option routes. Well, the wide receivers and tight ends only have to worry about their own option route, right? So what Cam has to do is he has to get a look at the defense pre-snap, get an idea from the pre-snap kind of communication and what he's seeing from the shell pre-snap to think, okay, this is probably how this play is going to play out. Then once the ball is snapped, if there's a rotation or if it's something different, then they have to go ahead and figure figure that out. And he's got to figure out where all 5 guys are going, not just one guy. If you're a wide receiver and you go out there and you say, oh, I just have to convert my route from this to that because of the coverage. Well, Cam has to think about that times 5 every single time he drops back to pass. And on top of that is, I think, a big thing what you said was also how they like to roll through a bunch of different personnel groupings. They like to run a different style of offense, just a little bit of tweaks here and there every single week to be a game plan oriented offense. If you look at the offenses that are QB friendly, that are easy for the quarterback to run, it's Sean McVay's offense, it's Kyle Shanahan's offense, right? And those offenses are pretty much the same every single week. And they have route adjustments and they have site adjustments and things like that, just like the Patriots do. But it's a lot more like, if it's not here, it's there, right? And it's a lot more A and B instead of A, B, C, D. And I think that this offense gets so complex and has such a big berth of things that they can do, because with Brady, they could be whoever they wanted to be every single week. They could say, hey, Tom, this week, the best way for us to win this game is to run 21 personnel under center and you to throw off a play action. And the next week we could say, hey, Tom, the best way for us to win this week is to go 5 wide in tempo and have you in empty
and they
and
do
just
it.
get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
And they could do it. That's not how you can be, whether it's Cam or Stidham or some rookie quarterback or another guy that they bring in, that you can't do that with any of those guys. And especially if it's a young quarterback like Stidham or a rookie, they are going to have to really dumb down this offense a whole lot. And I would just like to see, from a philosophical standpoint, them go more towards a foundational system where you do something every single week that's kind of, something you can hang your hat on. And I think too often in this season, and even in 2019 at times, they really didn't have anything as an offense that they could say, hey, let's throw out the game plan and let's just go back to day one install type of stuff and let's see what works, right? And they haven't really had that. And I think if you look at a lot of offenses around the league, and it's not to take away from those quarterbacks, but even like a Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, that's a system that has a foundation to it. They run a package of plays every single week that are solid foundation of plays that they know that they can run at a high level. This team does not have plays that they can know that they can run at a high level.
No. And that's the thing, is you get a game like this and you get down and you're like, what are they going to do?
Right.
Like, you just don't really have that thing where you're like, okay, let's just start blank, Again, you think it was running the ball, and again, they didn't do poorly today. So I thought Sony stepped in fine for Damian Harris. There's just no consistency, and again, when the team doesn't respect anything that you're going to do down the field, it's really difficult to sustain drives and get things moving. And it just, offense was overall putrid today. We're going to get into, I want to quickly give a shout out to our sponsor. So give me a split second here, Evan. We're talking Legends brand. This is apparel, and it's pretty comfy. I didn't get any because Nick never sends me any stuff, but other people in the company have, and I'm very jealous. It's one of the best men's athletic brand apparel brands. It's based in Los Angeles. High quality products, features that you would expect as an athlete, style and comfort for all day wear. The Hawthorne Tech hoodie is one of the things that they're pressing right now. This is a great holiday gift. It's for joggers or just honestly to wear around the house. It's super comfy, won't break the bank. Top athletic brands charging over $100. Here it's $75. Plus you get a discount if you go to legendsbrand.com/Horford. That's like Horford, like Big Al Horford. Use the code Horford20 to get 20% off your next purchase. Once again, legendsbrand.com/Horford. Use the code Horford20 to get 20% off your next purchase. So, Evan, we can keep going here on Cam if you want a little bit. I mean, I think ultimately this is I think everyone's brain is going to break here if they don't see Stidham the next 2 games. And again, it would be it would stubbornness beyond kind of the justification or the ability for anybody to comprehend why at this point you would bother. You all the things you mentioned early in the show, you forget the vets, play some kids, see what you got. And for the love of, you have to figure out if Stidham can even be a backup level quarterback going forward, because I mean, look, what are you going to do next year? If you draft a quarterback or you go sign another one, is Cam the backup? You at least have to make sure that Stidham is rosterable at this point. Or
Right.
if he is better than whatever next guy you're going to go get out there in free agency. And again, we've heard all the names and rumors at this point. Matt Stafford, as a trade, Carson Wentz, who wants out of Philly now. I mean, there's names out there. So we are going to go over that this week. I know we're going to do a series on potentially the next quarterback, but now there's just one thing to do, and it's obviously play Stidham.
It's obviously play Stidham. And look, I would like to watch the all 22 from this game before I finally make this my final take on Cam Newton. I just don't think it's worked here. And he's a great guy, and he's a great teammate, and he can still run, and he's still athletic, and he's still a big dude in the pocket, and he's hard to get down at times, and he can be elusive. And I enjoyed watching him play at times this year. That's definitely true. And I think that he's taken a lot of unnecessary flack for an offense that was really never built to win in this season, from a receiver standpoint and all the way down to the quarterback to everybody. It just wasn't an offense that was built for a quarterback to have success in. And Tom Brady basically told you that when he left for Tampa Bay. He knew that this offense wasn't going anywhere this year. But I think from a stylistic standpoint, it just was always an odd fit that they were trying to see if it was going to work. I think that we found out in these 14 games that he started, or whatever it ended up being, this is not a stylistic fit for the Patriots in any sort of way. And I think with the next quarterback, and Stidham hopefully can do this maybe a little bit more, but I think that you have to start to really focus in on the two most important things about quarterback play, which are timing, anticipation, and also obviously ball placement and downfield accuracy. If you have a quarterback that continuously puts your receivers in no-win situations, I don't care who's out there. It doesn't ultimately matter if it's going to be Jacoby Myers or if it's going to be Allen Robinson. It's not going to make a difference. So I think that's the biggest thing that, from my takeaway from this game, is that even in a game where Cam wasn't the biggest problem, where I thought that he actually made some pretty good throws and played basically what I said fine on the whole, they didn't score a touchdown and they lost the game by 10 points. It's just not good enough, and the quarterback play all year hasn't been good enough, and it stinks because he was a really fun guy to have in the locker room, to have around. He's a great teammate, but it just isn't a fit here, I don't think.